Welcome to the Young Caymanian Leadership Awards, live from the Kimpton Seafire Resort on 7 Mile Beach in Grand Cayman. Ladies and gentlemen, our host and YCLA alumni, Chris Duggan.
Ladies and gentlemen, what is the definition of leadership? Are leaders born or are leaders made? Are you a leader? Am I a leader? Is everyone in a leader? Your Excellency, the Governor of Helen Kilpatrick, the Honourable Deputy Governor, Mr. Franz Manderson, the Honourable Minister for Finance and Economic Development, Mr. Roy McTaggart, Member of the Legislative Assembly and Councillor from the Ministry of Education, Ms. Barbara Connolly, Member of the Legislative Assembly and Councillor from the Ministry of Human Resources, Immigration and Community Affairs, Mr. Austin Harris, Member of the Legislative Assembly and Councillor from the Ministries of Transport and Sports, Mr. David White, Chief Officer from the Ministry of Health, Environment, Culture and Housing, Ms. Jennifer Ahern, Chief Officer from the Ministry of Human Resources and Immigration, Mr. Wesley Howell, Acting Chief Officer from the Ministry of Community Affairs, Ms. Teresa Echeniki, YCLA guest speaker, Mr. Craig Kielberger, YCLA 2017 finalists, sponsors, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the 2017 Young Caymanian Leadership Awards. Thank you very much. My name is Chris Duggan. It's my pleasure to be the host of this evening's event. And on behalf of my colleagues on the honorary board of the YCLA, it's my pleasure to welcome you all here this evening and to thank you all for coming out to join us. We celebrate another year of outstanding young Caymanian leadership, and we celebrate another 5 incredible young leaders who've made a difference in our community. And I'd like to welcome especially all those people at home who are tuning in live on Cayman Life TV, Channel 33, and streaming live around the world on Facebook. You're all very welcome, and thank you all very much for joining us tonight. For 18 years, ladies and gentlemen, the YCLA has been recognizing and rewarding outstanding young Caymanian leadership. And this evening, we'll again recognize 5 young leaders who have all made a difference in our community. But why are we here? Why do we come together each year to celebrate these outstanding young leaders? Why is it necessary? And what exactly does it achieve? Well, ladies and gentlemen, when you see and hear on an almost daily basis about the unacceptable actions and behaviors of some of our world's most senior leaders, admired role models, and trusted professionals, it's a wake-up call that we cannot disregard. From business leaders to world leaders, from sports leaders to Hollywood leaders, the word leadership is really coming under assault on almost a daily basis. These leaders who are role models to our children, who we admire on the big screen, and who we rely on to uphold the highest levels of morals and integrity in our world, are repeatedly letting us down. They're repeatedly leading us the wrong way, and they are repeatedly exhibiting behavior that is not conducive to the growth and the development of our youth. They are discharging their responsibilities as leaders and role models with a level of reckless abandon that has not been seen or heard of for decades. That, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly why we're here tonight. We must continue to identify, to develop, and to recognize and promote all young Caymanians that are prepared to be upstanding leadership role models for our youth. Role models that are going to choose the right path, role models that are going to set the right examples, and role models that are going to be the new generation of leaders. We need to identify and showcase those individuals that are going to prove that it does not pay to go the other way, that are going to prove that it is not cool to go the other way, and they're going to live their lives leading the youth of our country the right way. We need to harness their dedication and their determination to make a difference in our community and to ensure that they dominate the headlines for the right reasons. We need them to change the mindsets of those that might otherwise follow a different path to that of the exemplary ones followed by each one of tonight's 5 finalists. Ladies and gentlemen, that is what the YCLA is about. Ladies and gentlemen, that is why we're here tonight. So at the top of the show, I asked a number of questions about leadership, questions that are so often asked and questions that have so many different answers. I'm sure if I were to ask each of us in this room tonight to define what does leadership mean, we'd get over 300 different responses. But we do, gentlemen, have 5 outstanding young leaders that we're recognizing this evening. So I think we should find out what leadership means to each one of them. So please give our 5 finalists a hand as I invite them on stage to join me in no particular order, Miss Yentel Magor, Miss Faith Gealey, Mr. Matt Brown, Miss Stacey Sabersma, and Miss Alice Ramos, our 2017 YCLA finalists. Instead of having 5 individual microphones to give out or to make it easy for them and pass one microphone down the line, we brought our little throw mic here. So we're going to have a little bit of fun throwing the mic around, just asking them a few questions. So as I said at the beat, well, first of all, congratulations to you all for being a finalist of the 2017 YCLA. It's an amazing accomplishment. You're here because you do amazing things in the community. So thank you for what you do in the community. You're all looking great. And I hope you enjoy the evening. So at the top of the show, I was asking these questions. What is leadership? What's the definition of leadership? So if I can ask you all, just in a couple of words, just to tell us what your definition of leadership is. And I'll throw you the mic, and let's start with Alice. Let's do the long one first. There you go. Great catch.
A leader is someone who is engaging.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And Yentel, what's your definition of leadership?
Who unapologetically stands up.
Thank you. Did we all hear that? Say it one more time. No. Let me down. All right, Jonda, can we have the podium mic on maybe, and we'll try to get the throw one working.
A leader is someone who unapologetically stands up for what they believe in and empowers others to do the same.
Thanks very much, Yentel. And Stacey, let's try with the throw mic and see if it's working. If not, you can join me over here.
No? Yeah, there we go. A leader is someone who is very passionate about what they do and what they believe in.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And Faith, over to you. There you go. Great. Ooh, it's a hard work. Thanks. And last but not least, our lone man on the stage.
Test, yes. Somebody who's a risk taker, who isn't afraid.
Great. Thank you all very much. So our definitions of leadership from our 5 finalists. And over the years, ladies and gentlemen, we have had 16 recipients of the YCLA, and each one every year has a platform that they talk about throughout the course of the year. So I'm going to ask each of you, if you are selected as the recipient of the 2017 YCLA, what will your platform be? And let's start this end.
Mentoring the youth in career development and career progression.
Thank you very much. We'll go back to the end now. Alice?
I plan to guide our youth through various community service programs. And with this, I hope that they're able to make right life choices.
Thank you very much. And Stacey?
How about now? There. Yeah. My platforms are environmental awareness, increasing environmental literacy, and getting young girls into science and STEM, science, technology, engineering, math careers.
Well done, Stacey. Thank you very much. And Matt, we have an ask here. Come to the stage.
Good night, guys. All right. You know me, right? Culture. Making people say, geez, pushing who we are as Caymanians and ensuring that we're proud of who we are and we know why. Thank you.
I'm going to join the line here now, and thank you very much. I'm going to ask Faith to go to the microphone. And
Good evening, everyone. My platform is also mentorship. I would not be the person standing here today if I did not receive mentorship, and I think it's important for our young people to know that we are genuinely invested in them and in their future.
Thank you very much, Faith. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen, for the technical issue. 5 outstanding platforms, and I'm sure if you're the recipient, you'll all continue to progress those platforms anyway. Given the amount you've done in the community already, I know you will continue to do that. We'll ask you one more quick question. We've had 80 YCLA alumni over the years that YCLA has been in existence. So who or which one of those alumni being an inspiration to you in getting to you where you guys are tonight on this stage. So let's try the throw mic one more time.
McKeever Bush? No? he wasn't nominated?
Just can't script some things.
It's a
And your
person
second choice?
that I spend a lot of time with. I have somebody who I'm very connected to through family. That he's an overachiever. He started out as a CPA, then he became a pastor, and now he works at Progressives as the CFO, and that's Stephen Ryan. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Very good choice. And we have Stephen over here, so welcome to our YCLA alum who are here tonight. Chantel.
Mine would definitely have to be my aunt, Mrs. Perlina McGaw-Lumsden. I was able to watch her when I was a young kid live her life leading by example, and it inspired me to live my life in the same way, and now here I am as a YCLA finalist myself.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Chantel. We'll go down the line. Faith. To the podium.
The mic doesn't like me. For me, I would have to say it's a tie. When I look back on my teenage years and I can identify the first two mentors I had in my life, it was Tanya Mitchell-Magoo and Nasaria Saku-Chalet, who unfortunately neither of them could be here today due to a death in the family, but they both impacted my life in such a genuine and real way, and it just shows how mentorship comes full circle, because here I am standing as a result of their mentorship, and I hope in 15 years I'm sitting in the audience and someone can say I was their mentor. So.
Thank you very much, Faith, and condolences to the family. Stacey, let's give this a go.
Are we on?
No, back to the podium.
Hello, I'm a little taller. So apart from you, Chris, I mean, isn't he a wonderful host?
I was wondering when someone was going to save me. Let's give her the award right now. Thank you very much, Stacey.
It would be the lovely Natalie Urquhart. She has been someone who I've watched from afar for a very long time. I had the pleasure of meeting her through this process, and she just is a living embodiment of a strategic, long-term thinker who has the best of the community in mind. So thank you, Natalie.
Thank you, Stacey, and another good choice. Welcome, Natalie. I'm not even going to risk the mic anymore. Let's bring you up to the podium.
All right. I would have to say Katie Petney. Where are you, Katie? She is not only a real-life superwoman, she is an entrepreneur, she's a mother, she's a wife. She is just inspiring, and she just basically, you know, I don't know how to explain her. There's so many words. But basically, she makes it known that you can find any time in the day to make time to volunteer and to give back to the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alice, and I agree. Katie is an absolute superwoman. A lot of what you see here tonight is because of Katie. I'm not sure where she is, but thank you very much to Katie. Ladies and gentlemen, they're troopers going through our technical issues here, but these are your 2017 YCLA finalists. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we of course could not make any of this happen without the generous support of the sponsors who understand at the core why celebrating those who choose to lead by example, inspire others to do the same, and make a tangible difference in our community. And so over the course of this evening, I'll be thanking our valuable sponsors. Without them, we wouldn't be here this evening. To start, sincere gratitude goes out to our 2017 title sponsor, DART, for their many years of support of the YCLA program. DART's continued support for this program is a testament to their commitment to the continued growth and development of young Caymanians, and we are very appreciative of all they do in our community. So we've just heard from all our finalists, but I know they all recently caught up with our videographer to record a short clip about who they are and about what they do. And so without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy our first YCLA finalist video and meet Miss Stacey Cybersma.
I really love life. I really love seeing new things. I love adventure. I love people. I love laughing. I'm really inspired by goodness, whether that's the ocean going for a dive, whether that's a person who is just really trying to make a difference. I have a very, very strong desire to spread environmental awareness. I really would love to get into the schools, talk about the importance of our ocean, its vulnerabilities, how it impacts our everyday life. This lack of understanding and knowledge about the ocean. I have done 2 different TED Talks. My first talk was called The Ocean Potential, and that was in 2016. And it was about all the ways that the ocean impacts our everyday life. So I want to make people understand it so that they can care about it and they can know the little things, little lifestyle differences that will impact the ocean and make it better. One of the things I do in my free time is I volunteer on the National Trust Environmental Advisory Committee. So I work with this think tank to look at some of the trust environmental initiatives like the Blue Iguana Recovery Program, the Salina Reserve, the Mastic Trail, and help them build up their programs to make them the best that they can be. We really live in a beautiful place. I mean, we're a tourism destination for a reason. So I give a lot of my time to speak to school children, giving youth the skills and the understanding of what's around them in their environment can only open doors.
Well done, Stacey. She really is an environmental champion, so thank you very much, Stacey, for all you do. Later this evening, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be inviting a representative from KPMG to come up on stage to hand me the envelope with the name of our 2017 recipient. But before that, I'd like to recognize and thank KPMG, both for their sponsorship and for their willingness to coordinate the tabulation of the judges' votes this year. KPMG are a leader in their industry, and their active support of recognizing and rewarding young Caymanian leadership is both admirable and very much appreciated. So thank you very much, KPMG. And the elegance and the beauty of our decor this evening is a fitting backdrop for our young leaders. Miss Joanne Brown and the team at Celebrations have once again done an outstanding job decorating the room and designing the set for this evening's event, and we also thank them very much. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy our second YCLA finalist video and meet Miss Alice Ramos.
In high school, I was a bum. I loved watching movies.
Alice Ramos didn't find her calling to service until after high school, but when she did, it became an integral part of who she is.
It was when I came back from university and I just wanted to utilize my time towards better things.
And that she has.
I got involved with Rotaract and I immediately fell in love with the people as well as the organization. It was almost every weekend I was doing something and I absolutely loved it.
Among the work she's most proud of, an initiative called Put Your Best Foot Forward, providing shoes for students.
We were able to sponsor 25 students during the summer, and then we were able to sponsor another 25 students in Christmas of that year. So that was really amazing for me.
Alice seems to approach everything she does with a determination to do it well. She works hard. Nothing is by accident. When Cayman Finance asked her to be a mentor, she took on the challenge.
I had to do a lot of homework on, what do we talk about, what's appropriate, how can I help this individual, progress throughout their career. They're high school students. So what can I offer?
The answer to that question is pretty easy to see. Even in her professional capacity, Alice shows us all there is always a way to give back and do more than we think we can.
Sometimes our past may lead us in certain directions, but we can basically mold our life how we want to. It doesn't matter your current circumstances. You can achieve anything that you set your mind to. I know that might sound cliche, but for me, that's what kept me going.
Alice believes you can chart your own path and craft a life filled with purpose.
You can see it's pretty hard to keep track of everything Alice does, but congratulations, Alice, for everything that you're doing. This time, we'd like to acknowledge another one of our loyal supporters and thank PwC for their continued sponsorship of the YCLA program. They've been a supporter for many years, and their continued involvement in the YCLA is very much appreciated. And now we'll move on to our third YCLA finalist video. Please meet the ever-entertaining Mr. Matt Brown.
You guys like Cayman's heritage?
At any given moment, you're likely to see Matt Brown somewhere in Cayman entertaining old and young alike.
Anybody here like cartoons?
We caught up with him here in Northside introducing his newest creation.
A plane!
A cartoon for kids designed to get them interested in their Caymanian heritage.
Bobo and TD's Island Adventures.
It's speaking to them in a language that they understand. So rather than a traditional chalkboard and a ruler,
this is the great house.
We're using a medium that they want.
Matt is no stranger to the spotlight. Besides owning his own film production company,
I could take you to the party.
He is heavily involved in other arts and culture programs.
I'm falling out my seat.
Music and theater are just some of his other passions. On stage, Matt has the unique ability to switch between humor and drama effortlessly.
The hell with this up and down! I'm going fishing!
This multifaceted young man believes spreading the history and culture of Cayman is the best way to keep it alive in the hearts of our youth.
We wanted to reach as many people as possible. So my goal is to push and distribute whatever it is that I do here outside of Cayman.
At the heart of everything he does is the firm belief that Caymanians have something to offer the world.
It's called 7 Mile. It's famous.
The concept of the show is to show that we can be proud of who we are, to instill some core values, some traditional ways, the way that we do things here in Cayman and why we do them, why we go Easter camping, why do we eat heavy cake. It just shows the kids a glimpse into who they really are and why it's important to be proud of who you really are.
As I said, ever the entertainer. Congratulations, Matt, and keep on entertaining. Absolutely fantastic. The amount of work, ladies and gentlemen, it takes to put an event of this size together is significant. And I'd like to thank all my colleagues on the YCLA board who've contributed to this evening's event. But just a couple of very big, two special thank yous this evening. First one goes to April Cummings, who aside from doing the lion's share of the work, has also single-handedly coordinated the live broadcast. So I know she's going to be yelling at me in my through the ear here, but because this was not part of the script. But I would like to publicly thank and recognize April for all that she's done. And I'd like to ask our board member, Katie Marin Pentney, if she could make her way over to April and just hand her a small token of our appreciation. She's at the back over there, like somewhere. But thank you very much, April. Done an amazing job once again. And as many of you will be aware, her governor, Ms. Helen Kilpatrick, will be leaving Cayman in just a few months. And so we wanted to recognize and thank her for this evening for her unwavering and loyal support of the YCLA since she arrived on the island back in 2013. Her Excellency has not just attended every YCLA since she's been here, but she's been a staunch supporter of the program, hosting many events for the program over the last 4 years. And so on behalf of the Board of Directors of the YCLA, Your Excellency, thank you very much for all of your support over the years. And if you don't mind joining me on stage just for a couple of minutes, we can present you with a token of our appreciation. So this, the first little gift is a photograph. Every year before the YCLA, Her Excellency hosts a family tea on her front lawn. at her residence.
It always rains.
And it regularly rains, yes. So this is a photo of the last 4 years YCLA finalists that have been hosted by Her Excellency on the front lawn. So it's a photo she can take back, remembering all the young Caymanian leaders during her time. There is, thank you.
That would be a lovely souvenir.
There is actually one more, though, we want to give her. We want to give her an honorary recipient of the YCLA. On behalf of the YCLA, congratulations. Thank you very much for all your support. And now for your acceptance speech.
Thank you, Chris, but there's a why problem. I've really enjoyed supporting the YCLA and all the events, and the thing that I particularly enjoyed is hosting the dinners for the finalists for the YCLA, because it's been a chance to talk to the young people of Cayman who are so passionate about what they do. But thank you very much for this.
Thank you, and we wish you all the best in whatever your future may hold. And thank you very much again for everything. Let me bring this down. The last year's YCLA was C5's inaugural event. And once again, the team at the Kimpton have pulled out all the stops for us. And a huge thank you to Robin, Jess, and the Kimpton team for all of their help again this year. Thank you very much. We'd also like to thank and recognize Broadhurst attorneys for all their help over the years. They've been the YCLA's attorneys from the outset and have been a great supporter of the program since. So thanks to Peter, Kyle, and their team for all of their support. And I know they are here tonight, so thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for our fourth YCLA finalist video, please meet Miss Faith Gealey.
I am a board member for the Special Needs Foundation of Cayman. I'm a child of people with special needs. My parents are deaf, so I've grown up sort of seeing the way that their disabilities affected them in their day-to-day life. And so having that personal experience just sort of resonated with me to be involved with Special Needs Foundation, because I saw it from both ways, the professional and the personal aspect of it. So that's really why Special Needs Foundation is near and dear to my heart. The more we teach our children to be more understanding and empathetic of the people around them, the more willing they are to just accept people for who they are and just be more understanding of their abilities and not just only focus on their disabilities, but focus on what makes them them and what makes them wonderful and unique. So whatever you're good at and whatever you're passionate about, I think it's important to use that in a way that's going to leave your imprint on society. And even if you just leave an imprint on one person, I think you still have made the world of a difference, even if it was just to that one person. That's what really drives me, is taking the things I'm passionate about and just trying to leave my imprint on society for the next generation.
Thank you, Faith, and congratulations on the amazing inspirational work you do in the community. In the very early days of YCLA, a core group of supporters helped make the vision of showcasing Caymanian leadership a reality. The foster family support has been invaluable over the years, and we'd like to thank Progressive and the foster family for their ongoing support of the YCLA. We'd also like to thank Stone Island for their continued support of the program. Thank you very much to both of those organizations. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for the fifth and the final YCLA finalist video, please meet Miss Yentel Magor.
I was raised by a single mom for a good amount of time, and I didn't notice at the time that things weren't great. You know, I just thought, hey, we're all having dinner around the table, when the reality was we were all sharing one plate of jerk chicken that the church had raised. She wanted to make our lives better, and she decided she was going to run her own security company. The company obviously started to grow. She started to become very successful. It became the largest security company on island. She proved to me that through hard work and through determination and staying focused on your goals, you can literally achieve anything. I did a drug prevention conference for kids, a massive cleanup of the beach. I have my own Yantalmagal Youth Community Excellence Award program. It all started with Ivan. The spark that came when I would give people the food or the Vienna sausages, and they would be like, oh, thank you so much. And you're like, oh my gosh, this means something to people, you know? And going out and seeing how everyone was lending a hand to strangers, it didn't matter because we were all in this together. And it shouldn't just be given in situations like that, but at all costs, at any time, because every day someone's going through a struggle. And that's when it clicked to me, this is what I want to do. So I've stuck with it for over 10 years in any capacity that I can, and 100 Women in Finance ties into my passion now, where I can give career advice to these young ladies in terms of what do you want to be and how do you want to get there. I love when I watch the Olympics and you see how unified Jamaica is, or you see how unified America is. They're so patriotic. And I want to be like that for my own country in every aspect. So that's what drives me, because I need to be a patriot and ambassador for my country, and I can only do that if I get involved.
Thanks, Chantal, and again, congratulations to everything that you do in the community. I don't know how you keep up with it all, but well done. And our final sponsor shout-out of this evening goes to Kensington Management and Bodden & Bodden Attorneys. Thanks to both of these leading organizations for their sponsorship support again this year. It's greatly appreciated. And thank you once again to all our sponsors for all your generous support. Now, my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce you to tonight's keynote speaker. At the age of 12, Craig Kielberger saw and read a headline in the Toronto Star newspaper that would ultimately change his life. It was about a young Pakistani boy named Iqbal Masih, who was forced into bonded labor in a carpet factory at the age of just 4 years old. By the age of 12, Iqbal became an international figurehead for the fight against child labor. But unfortunately, that courageous fight would ultimately cost him his life, and he was brutally murdered at the tender age of 12. Craig couldn't understand how a boy his own age could be murdered for standing up to the brutality of child labor, and he made it his mission to do something about it. 22 years later, he's still doing it, and the impact he and his team have had is nothing short of astonishing. He's become an icon in his native Canada and around the world, and today he and his brother Mark lead the We organization, an organization that has become one of the most recognized and successful social impact and youth movements anywhere in the world. And before we invite Craig up, we have a short video to show you a little bit about the We organization. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the podium one of the more inspirational speakers you'll ever hear, our 2017 YCLA keynote, Mr. Craig Kielberger.
Good evening. Firstly, allow me to say, all protocol having been observed, that it's an honor to be able to join such a distinguished group of individuals here this evening. Firstly, also, Chris, thank you for the very kind words. To the finalists, that was spectacular, seeing those videos. Can we give them another round of applause? Absolutely breathtaking. I love the diversity of causes represented, from culture to the environment, from empowering women to inclusiveness, from supporting heritage to all the different issues that were covered. In fact, the one small caveat I'd add is I don't think we're celebrating leaders of tomorrow, we're celebrating leaders of today with such remarkable young people. And I also want to say, on behalf of my wife and I, we had the pleasure to visit. You have an extraordinarily beautiful country. But not only is it visually beautiful, but every single person we've met, in their kindness, in their authenticity, in their grace, in their warmth, and in their welcoming. And a country that would come together to celebrate young people as you're doing through these awards, that is not only worthy of celebrating the youth, but worthy of celebrating the culture of this country, because that is a culture that you have now elevated through this, by looking to the next generation in such a beautiful way. I think that tells a great deal to the world about the Caymans, that you would choose to celebrate your young. It's been a pleasure and privilege to be with you here, and if I can ask that we could have the slides that are coming up from the presentation. Thank you. In the precious moments that I have with you, firstly, I'm humbled to stand in front of you, given the amazing stories of youth we've just heard, and to reinforce a message that their stories very much embrace, which is the message that anyone can change the world. You know, as Chris shared with you, it was a young boy who first inspired us to start a charity. A young boy from Pakistan who was sold into slavery, who escapes, who speaks out passionately so, and who is murdered at 12 years of age. Now, frankly, Chris was very generous in his description about how we got involved. Truth be told, I wasn't looking for a cause. I was 12, and I was looking for the comics in the newspaper. And I saw this on the front page. And I tore it, and I brought it to my class, and I said, I need your help. And I asked who will join. 11 hands went up, so 11 plus me. There were 12 of us. At the time, we were all 12 years old. So we proudly named ourselves the Group of 12-year-olds. It lasted for about 2 weeks until one of us had our 13th birthday. Somehow we didn't see that coming. And eventually the We organization was born. You know, we had this crazy dream to build a school to help kids in Asia, some of the children who were trying to escape from slavery and bonded labor. People laughed at us. They said that we were too young, maybe something that a lot of the finalists have heard here. They said we had to wait until we were adults, positions of influence, run for office, become CEOs, then you can change things in the world. But as tonight's event celebrates, young people have idealism, passion, and just the right dose of shameless naivety to help change this world. Not only did we manage to build our first school, we then set a goal while we were in high school to build 10 schools. Now, we were from middle-class kids. This was seemingly an impossible task, but we were joined by other young people who put up their hands and said, we too want to serve. And from 10 schools, our goal grew to build 100 schools around the world. And as time passed from 100 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 700 schools around the world, to 8 to 9, to over 1,000 schools that we've built in schoolhouses in Asia and Africa and Latin America, educating with hundreds of thousands of children graduating, continuing on their education. The reason I share that with you is because that all started while we were kids, passionate to make a difference. Continuing with clean water and jobs to empower communities, and food security to help farmers increase their yields, and healthcare, and today it works with over 1 million beneficiaries around the world. But it all started because of one boy in Pakistan who was, and you know, those in this room may be able to relate, those on television, a young boy in Pakistan who was born into very humble beginnings, but whose story set off a chain of events by his courage that inspired and touched the lives of so many. You know, over these years, what I've come to realize is that so often the media has misportrayed young people. That it's not the me generation. It's not the generation that only looks down on their smartphones. That it's actually the we generation. The most connected, globally minded, most passionate to create social progress. As we've seen in these amazing young people who are nominated. For those of you who are in this room, I know many of you are the pillars of the business community. Those of you watching through television or online. Young people, your generation of workers, and maybe your future generation of entrepreneurial bosses, are passionate and look for environment and social issues when they choose which companies to work for. You know, they find jobs more fulfilling when that job gives back to make a difference. But perhaps my favorite stat is that they're even willing to take a pay cut. Not that we're advocating for that, but they're placing so often doing good over some of the traditional definitions of success. We dream of the day that young people are given the opportunity to serve their country. Every young person. You know, over 20 odd years, you heard the earlier part of my story that we started as a charity, a group of kids to make a difference. Today, we've now grown from that to help the next young person to make a difference. The next 12-year-old, 10-year-old, 15-year-old, 17-year-old to find their cause with the support to get involved. Over 15,000 schools across the US and Canada and the UK and even across the Caribbean that I'll talk about. We have the honor to work with to bring service learning into classrooms. We fundamentally believe that students learn best by doing, and they should do it through service. And not to wait until they reach positions of influence, but every young person to serve their country, even as students, to develop that active citizenship. So how does that come alive? Well, we work with groups like the College Board. Some of you might know it's the Association of Colleges and Universities. They provide in the US things like the SATs or advanced placement courses. We work in the UK and others. And to create courses and materials that teach through doing. So you learn your computer science by coding apps for charity. You learn your biology by testing water in your community. You learn foreign languages by connecting with others around the world and to help support them to lift themselves out of poverty. In fact, we dream of the day that every young person can serve. So we help bring this alive through speaking tours and Skype coaching sessions and resources and professional development training for teachers and everything that a school needs to become not only a place of learning, but also a place of engagement. We've seen this through the Caribbean, where we've had the honor to over 200 schools where we now work with to bring service alive in various ways. And then we celebrate them. We celebrate young people through an event we do called We Day. Why? Because tonight's event, we need more of these. In fact, we dream of the day that every country, that every community will have one. We dream of the day that every community will have a celebration of its young people, the Academy Awards of doing good, the Grey Cup or Super Bowl or FIFA of changing the world. So we pack out the biggest stadiums that a city has to bring together young people, just like you're doing tonight. To bring together youth who have all earned their ticket through service. It's free to attend a We Day, but you have to have helped at least one local cause and one global cause. And we want to make that the celebration. So I want to share with you a video clip of what a We Day looks like when it comes to a region and when it celebrates its young people.
Born out of a dream, two brothers, fueled by the desire for change, by the hope that the world can be a better place. They called it
We Day. More than an event, it launches a year of actions for social change.
You can't buy a ticket to We Day.
You earn it through service.
Tens of thousands in attendance.
Hundreds of thousands watching online.
Millions watching on TV.
We Day is the movement of our time. The We movement helps to support your passion for a better world.
It's time to stop complaining that there's nothing to be done and instead actively take steps, truly living we.
Together, we can truly live we.
For everything that divides us, there is so much more that unites.
proof that we can redefine what is possible.
I tried to change who I am, and I realized I don't know how to be anything but myself.
I know we all have some weaknesses, but it does not mean that we don't deserve to be special.
I was born with one finger on my left hand and a lower leg that was curved in, and this hasn't slowed me down at all.
We Day is all of you, the few, the dedicated, coming together to change this world. Tonight, we are young, so let's set the world on fire. We can burn brighter.
Some people don't think it's cool to help others. Personally, I think it's the coolest thing in the world.
We Day was phenomenal. I've never experienced anything like this before.
We Day has changed my life. Like, I'm so impacted. I can't even describe to you. I'm so excited to get started.
Are you ready to change the world?
You guys are awesome, We Day.
Just last week, we had 20,000 young people come together in Canada. Next week, on Wednesday, we have 20,000 in Minnesota. We then travel to the UK in Wembley, where we have another, we're packing at Wembley, I'm not sure what the total number is. And just recently, in fact, we had Trinidad and Tobago, our first one in the region, which we were excited to celebrate, to bring together amazing youth. They support any cause, 7,000 different charities. It's not meant to replace, it's meant to enhance what they do. And it gets to honor these young people, to say that every single youth gets to give back. They get to pick a cause they care about, roll up their sleeves, and to make a difference. If I could have the next slide, please. You know, today it's the final message I'd love to leave with you as we celebrate young people is not only one of celebrating the power of youth, but celebrating the power of generations. Generations coming together to see grandparents and grandkids, to see mothers and fathers, nieces and nephews, brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles, to see so many different generations here, but also watching on television. There's something incredibly powerful about sharing a goal that we saw here in supporting young people. You know, one of the regions where we work around the world is we've had the honor to work high in the Andes Mountains in Ecuador, in a region that's so rural with the indigenous population who refer to themselves there as the Purhe Indians. In a region so isolated that the only way to get here is a winding mountain goat path. Literally. And so there's no roads to access. To bring supplies, you load them on the back of mules and send them up the tiny winding mountain goat path. So we had all our building supplies for schools. We had them on the back of mules, the wood, the cement on the back going up the tiny path, the local community. It was harvest season. So they had all that they were harvesting, the beans, the maize on the back of mules. They were going down the tiny winding goat path. And there was literally a traffic jam of mules. And by the time theirs went to market and ours finally got up to the village, we arrived quite late. In fact, so late we only had a day left for our build. We turned to the village chief. We bowed our heads with great respect, as per the culture. And we said, we apologize, but we can't build a school. There's not enough time. Don't worry, we'll have more volunteers come in. They'll be arriving in a few weeks. We'll build it together then. We'll finish it. But just not now. She listened very politely. She nodded her head and she said, okay, let's finish it now. And we thought maybe it was a translation challenge because we were speaking in English and it was being translated to Spanish and Spanish into Quechua, to the local language, Quechua. And through all that translation, we thought we'd try again. And so we said, well, we're on planes, we're flying home. Even if the whole village worked together, it's not physically possible. Even if everyone stopped what they were doing and joined in, it's not possible. We cannot build a school this quickly. These schools are massive. There's cement and wood and rolls. Whole explanation. We said, don't worry, we have more volunteers coming in a few weeks. We'll finish it then. She listened and nodded her head very politely. She said, okay, let's finish it now. And she took a few steps outside of her home and she shouted this one word in Quechua, in her language. And the one word she shouted was Minga. Minga. Never heard this word before, no idea what it meant. She walked up to us and said, "See, problem solved." And we said, "Yes, thank you, that was wonderful." No idea what was going on, except the men, when they heard that, they dropped their tools in peak harvest season. And the children came together. And the women started to actually organize them because the women were in charge. The women brought them all together. And the children went running to neighboring communities. There's no phones, there's no electricity where we were. So they would literally run, like the Greco-Roman times. They would run for hours, arrive panting, exhausted, and tell them a minga's happening. And then the next village would rally all its children, and they would send them out and tell them that a minga's happening, and they would start walking and walking and walking. What started with a few people, then dozens, then hundreds came together in this incredible outpouring. And they lay the foundation stones. They hoisted the walls. We had the roof up. Hundreds of people came together. People who would never benefit from this school. People who walked for hours and hours throughout the night from the neighboring villages. Strangers who were passing through the village on the way to the market. They stopped. They risked their crops, going bad and rotting as they helped to lay these foundations. Everyone joined in this incredible outpouring, this incredible spirit. And I bowed my head to the village chief and I said, "What is a minga?" And she looked at us. And again, in her language, in Quechua, she started to explain that a minga is a coming together of people to work for the collective good. And it was translated into Spanish, minga, coming together people to work for the collective good. It was translated from then into English, minga, coming together people to work for the collective good. And eventually, she was one of the wisest people in the village. She'd been to the city, she'd heard in English, and she knew a little bit. She said, and she could tell we weren't just translating the word, we were translating the idea. And so she said, "What's the word in your language? What's the word where everyone stops whatever they're doing and they come together to help each other?" And as we looked around, and we had volunteers literally from around the world who were all looking at each other, all these young, passionate people wanting to make a difference. We're looking at each other and we say, "Well, what do you shout if you need help?" And one person said, "Well, listen, I need help. I shout fire." I'm like, "Well, I don't think that's going to work. They'll run the opposite direction." "Well, what do you say?" Person says, "Well, volunteers needed." I'm like, "Really? You say volunteers needed? Everyone comes running to help you? Like, where do you live?" We're looking at each other trying to come up with this. And the only thing we could blurt out is, well, in our culture, it's almost like, back in North America, we said it's as we were blurting out to this woman, we said it's like a riot, but for good. Everyone's suddenly taking to the streets to help each other like we do back where we're from. And she looked at us and we looked at her, and in that moment we realized we don't really have a word for minga. We don't have a word that truly summarizes, that coming togetherness. It was fascinating. The Purahe Indians went on to explain to us, and this elder explained to us, that we live in such divided times in our world, sometimes even within our own communities. And I always thought that because we're part of a community, we help each other. She actually corrected me, and she said, "No, because we help each other, we're part of a community." She said, living side by side, that doesn't make us part of a community. She said, you could even not know the person living next to you. She said that, I thought about the fact that I live in a condo and I can't name the person living next to me. She said, what forms a community is a shared goal, what a psychologist, I've later learned, calls a superordinate goal. Something greater than any one individual, any one group, something so sacred, something so important that we all rally together around it like young people. Something that bridges everything that seemingly divides us, but is so much more important. So as we stand here today celebrating young people, and those who are back at home, with great humility ask, what is your minga? I challenge you when you go back to the offices tomorrow or back at home, when you get back, stand on your desk at your office and shout the word minga. People will come running, maybe not for the right reason initially, but they will come running. And when they do, let them know that there's a need for service. And ask them to find a service project that brings together your office. that brings together your faith community, that brings together your school, that brings together your family. So it's an honor and a privilege to be able to stand in front of you today as you celebrate a Minga here tonight in honor of an amazing group of finalists. And it's a privilege to be with you this evening. Good night.
Thank you very much, Craig. Absolutely amazing, inspirational speech. One of my favorite things in the world is the day that you were born, you were crying, but everyone else was smiling. Your life so that the day you die, everyone else is crying, you're smiling. And I think what Craig and Mark and his team at the We Organization do really does, they do that. They live their lives so that the day that they die, everyone will be crying, but they will be smiling for all the amazing things that they've done in the world. Once more time, ladies and gentlemen, Craig Kielberger. So we're getting closer, ladies and gentlemen, to the big announcement, but this time I have an exciting announcement to make about a new partnership establishing between the YCLA and the Cayman Islands government. Too often in our world leaders don't engage with the young people of their country, and it leads to a disconnect between the current leadership and the future leadership of a country. And so tonight we're delighted to launch the Young Leaders Roundtable Initiative, which is a partnership between the YCLA and the Cayman Islands government that the Honourable Premier, Mr. Alden McLaughlin, has agreed to chair. The Young Leaders Roundtable brings our young leaders together with the Premier and others in government to meet on a quarterly basis to discuss the issues of the day, and it gives our young leaders the opportunity to hear from the Premier, but to give the Premier the perspective of our country's youth, so that together they can make a tangible difference to the future of our country. This will undoubtedly promote greater youth engagement in the future direction of this country, provide an outlet for all young leaders to be a force for change, in their communities. The initiative will launch in January, and we thank the Premier very much and for the Cayman Islands government for being so proactive in embracing the idea and moving it forward. So thank you very much to the Cayman Islands government and to the Honourable Premier. I did just wanted to backtrack one minute. I did have the privilege of attending about 3 weeks ago one of the WE Days that Craig was talking about, the one in Toronto. It was an absolutely incredible experience. What it looked like on the video was amazing. I can assure you that what it was like in person was incredible. And I know that we've started discussions with Craig and his team to do what we can to bring the WE schools and the WE movement to the Cayman Islands. It's already in parts of the Caribbean. We want it here in the Cayman Islands. We'll do whatever we can. And I'm sure you'll all shout Minga and Craig and his team to the Cayman Islands. So ladies and gentlemen, our 2016 YCLA recipient, Ms. Brianna Wilkerson, has been a true ambassador of the YCLA program, having spoken to thousands of young people at the numerous speaking engagements she's participated in. And she's reached over 15,000 people through her speeches, through her media appearances, and through her online presence. It's our pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce a remarkable young lady who personifies exactly what young Caymanian leadership is all about. And I think we've got a video to show her year in review.
It's such an honor to even be nominated, and it was such an honor to be a finalist.
Ladies and gentlemen, the recipient of the 2016 Young Caymanian Leadership Award is Brianna Wilkerson.
It was an affirmation that what I've been doing in my life, all the organizations I was a part of, like it mattered and it was seen.
I think it's been a really, really great experience, not just only being able to share with the young people, but also learning from them. And it's just so refreshing to see leaders from such a young age and to hear their speeches at their events has just really given me a lot of hope.
Can I be honest with you guys? I'm kind of nervous to speak to you tonight. I'm not nervous because I haven't spoken in front of a crowd before or because I'm scared of stuttering over my words. I'm actually nervous because I understand that I've been given a great opportunity. Before me sits young leaders that I know will change the world and create transformation and change in our local community, organizations, and beyond.
I've had such a great privilege to be able to just share with the young people of Cayman more about pursuing their purpose and maximizing their potential. After really being involved in the community a lot through YCLA as well as just the other organizations I'm a part of, I see that there are so many other young people out there, so many diamonds in the rough that need to be acknowledged as a leader to be a better leader.
For her year in review, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the stage the recipient, Ms. Brianna Wilkinson.
Good evening, everybody. Ooh. Can I just say I'm proud to be Caymanian? That's how I'm going to start off. Yes. All right, so a year ago, almost to the day, I stood on this very stage at this very event and gave my acceptance speech. On that night, I shared what an honor it was to be chosen as the recipient, my own journey in becoming a leader, and how God was at the center of it all. I also shared my heart to empower Caymanians to rise out of the ordinary and step into their fullest potential and unique purpose, to step up and stand out in their schools, activities, workplaces, community, and this world. And as I sat down and let the reality that I want sit in, I received tons of hugs and congratulations. But one person in particular congratulated me and stood out the most. She asked a question that completely shaped and shifted my year with YCLA. She asked, what are you going to do this year that lasts beyond you and makes an impact in the years to come? I sat there completely taken off guard, but extremely aware of what she was asking. Essentially, she was asking me a question about legacy. And making sure that when my year was done, the investment I would make in both the individual lives and the Caymanian community would reap transformation beyond my time. And as I left there that night and started to prepare for my first speech, which was in 2 days, I let that question ponder in my mind and shape that speech and every one to come. Because what I realized as I wrote, spoke, and listened to the thousands of students and individuals in the community, that the legacy I was supposed to leave during my year was one that with every person I came into contact with through YCLA, that they would know that one, they were made with a great purpose and potential, and two, that they were the only ones who could and must fulfill that purpose. And as I worked to leave that legacy, there are two things I learned about young Caymanians in our islands that you should know. That our island is filled with talented, capable, and heart-centered leaders, ranging from the third grader who wants to be a doctor to help sick children like her sister, to the high schooler who wants to create a safe dirt bike path to bring together boys in his schools so they could stop fighting. But not all of these amazing leaders have the confidence, the opportunities, and the support to actually do those things and live out and fulfill their purpose. And the only way we can see that change is if we keep investing in them and empowering them both verbally with words and practically with action. Which is why I'm so excited to both hand over my title as recipient, but actually still be involved with the foundation as its new coordinator. Because I believe that if any of these 5 finalists are chosen, the recipient will not only impact these 3 islands through their various platforms, but will leave their own legacy of change, hope, and transformation. Whether it's Matt and his heart for culture and entertainment, Alice and her heart for community service and mentorship, Yantel and her heart for Caymanians in career development, Stacy and her heart for the environment and girls in science, or Faith and her heart for mentorship. Each of these 5 amazing finalists are already changing the lives of those in Cayman. And regardless of who the recipient is, I know each of them will continue to usher in a new age of leadership. So I'll end with saying thank you to YCLF, to my husband, family, friends, and community for supporting me this year. And I'll leave you with a quote found in one of the classes at UCCI, our local university, that I hope inspires all of us here in Cayman and the young people, both here and out there watching, to big up our people, to celebrate our heritage, and to rise up to be the leaders our community really needs. Young people, yours is a right heritage. To be Caymanian or to live in these Cayman Islands is more than a right, it is a privilege. Treasure it, learn about it, protect it, appreciate it, and celebrate it. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.
Thank you very much, Brianna, and thank you once again for the amazing work you did as our YCLA recipient. The YCLA, ladies and gentlemen, is awarded to a young Caymanian between the ages of 20 and 35. The campaign is open for any member of the community to nominate a suitable candidate for consideration. A subcommittee of YCLA alumni review each nomination, and the 5 finalists are then selected. They're then interviewed on videotape where personal attributes such as communication skills, personality, and leadership potential are evaluated. Board members with close relations to any of the finalists remove themselves from the screening process, and the final scoring is then done by way of a confidential ballot, with the results tabulated and verified by a third party, thanks to KPMG. And so now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of the evening that we've all been waiting for. I'd like to invite Ms. Sheena Hislop from KPMG to come to the stage with the envelope that contains the recipient's name. And as tradition, ladies and gentlemen, the name of the YCLA recipient has been a carefully guarded secret until it's announced live right here tonight. And I'd like to thank Sheena and the team at KPMG once again for agreeing to tabulate the results. So, ladies and gentlemen, the recipient of the 2017 Young Caymanian Leadership Award is Faith Gealey. One small thing.
Oh my God, I was so not expecting this. Thank you, everybody, and good evening, and protocol being established. I only wrote this like 2 hours ago because I wasn't really expecting it, so thank you. I'm overwhelmed with gratitude. This is such a prestigious honor. I mean, just to be a finalist alone is accolade enough. So to be the recipient is just unbelievable. To every one of my fellow finalists this year, we all brought something different to the table, a different flavor, a different type of appeal, a different set of skills. And so I just want to encourage you guys. You guys are all inspirational, and please continue to give back to our community and continue to do what you're doing because you each bring something that our young people need. To my family, to my friends, to my colleagues, my HSA family, my supporters, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. I'm not going to name names because, you always forget somebody. I stand here today because of 3 main things. My mother's prayers, my family's love, big up to the McCoy and the Conleys in the back, and mentorship. Mentorship took me from a teenage girl with ideas and ideals and helped to transform me into a young woman with a plan and a purpose. And as I mentioned earlier, 2 of my first mentors, Tanya Mitchell-Magoo and Nasari Sakushalat, were YCLA finalists themselves, and it just shows how proper mentorship comes full circle. Mentorship is more than just a platform for me. It was the thing that kept me motivated, that helped me make the appropriate life decisions to get to where I am today. Membership involves more than just taking a kid to Burger King or giving them a cool toy or, just sitting and having lunch with them. That's great, but it's more than that. It's about inspiring them, helping them to know who they are, helping that young person to find out what they're passionate about, and developing the skills they need to achieve that full potential. I am a living example of that, as are many other YCLA alumni, including my fellow finalists. I would like to start my year off a little unconventionally by issuing a challenge, a corporate challenge, since we have lots of corporate people here today. There's a wide variety of organizations represented in this room, all of whom have positive histories of giving back to this community. So my challenge to you is to not only give our community your charity dollars, which is very much needed, and please don't stop, but to allocate something a little bit more precious to our community, and that is your time. Give your employees hours to dedicate towards mentorship. If every person in this room, every single person in this room, dedicated 52 hours for the next 12 months, that's just 1 hour a week. That's a lunchtime, it's nothing, right? Towards mentorship, can you imagine the difference that you could make in the life of the children that you're mentoring? And can you imagine the long-term impact if each of you inspired one other person to also take up that challenge? In a year, we could essentially mentor every single high school graduate that's gonna graduate next year. And that's an amazing thing. Instead of graduating at-risk youth, who are often labeled as unemployable, as we see in our local newspaper, we could positively impact every single student, every single child, and create and transform a group of young people with the drive to be goal-oriented, motivated, and hungry for success. And if we continue that trajectory for the next 4 to 5 years, instead of planning for additional prison space and social services supports and other sort of social things, more police officers, we could be planning bigger universities and additional universities and scholarship funds and more office buildings. Mentorship provides something that no one else can. Like I like to say, there's no app for that. There is no substitute for the human element in our lives. There is nothing that can compare to feeling respected, to feel that you're genuinely cared for, and to be encouraged by individuals that you look up to. So please consider taking up this challenge and let the circle of mentorship begin with you this very night. Thank you again. I'm so overwhelmed. Thank you. And I wish you all a good night.
Well done.